Was known as the Maghreb. In fact, in Hebrew it was known as the Ma'arab. The Rambam quotes all the time where he studied Chachmei HaMa'arab. Used to be known as the Maghreb. Up to the present day it's known as the Maghreb. And then later on, of course, the Maghreb was divided into the nations which we know nowadays. Now, part of the Maghreb was unfortunately taken by the Spaniard, by Spain. And because in 1492 they have expelled all the Jewish people, unfortunately, from Spain. So consequently, wherever they had any control on any territorial, like for instance Morocco when it was divided and partly became Spanish Morocco, they were trying to pursue the Sephardic, and he settled in a town called Saleh. Saleh, of course, that area of Rabat, Casablanca, which is there nowadays, it's not part, in fact, of the Spanish territory. In Saleh, he fell in love with a lovely lady. You will be surprised to hear, there's no surprise to me, obviously he has chosen the right lady, called Rachel Toledano. What else? And so, once he married this lovely lady called Rachel Toledano, then he stayed there, and then finally he couldn't stay there for a reason unknown. Then he came along to Amsterdam. In Amsterdam he was told about the country was a tolerant country, the society was very tolerant, and therefore he decided to settle in Amsterdam. And unfortunately, when he came to Amsterdam from 1660 to 1670, for at least 10 years, he absolutely suffered. He suffered because at that time there was, as you have heard, Shabtai Tzvi, the false Mashiach or Messiah, the Messianic era as they were told. Now, he writes in his book, there is a book called, he writes the whole history of the Shabtai Tzvi, what exactly has happened to him. Obviously he writes in Hebrew, and he writes, let me tell you what he writes in one of his teshuvot, in one of his responses. V'ani Hadal, I quote, V'ani Hadal, and I, the poor man, it's a rabbinic expression, Lo chashti al atzmi, velo li'ibud chayai. I didn't care about myself, I didn't care about my life, purely kineti lichvod Hashem itbarach v'torato. I have in fact became a jealous, somehow the fervent, dedicated, devoted to the Almighty God and also to the Malchut David, because this Meshugah, this Shabtai Tzvi, called himself the Mashiach, and he called himself also that he is, in fact, has replacing, if you like, the Malchut David, the kingship, the kingdom of David, when the Almighty God has promised that, in fact, the kingship will always come along from King David. והייתי מכריז בפומבי, and I used to say publicly, שהכל שקר וכזב. I used to preach sermons, lectures, drashot, constantly, all the time, sending letters to Europe, sending letters to Africa, to Poland, to everywhere, telling them of this false Messiah. But by saying all that, זה מגבב. All I had is this side is insulting me, the people were insulting him, וזה מחרב, זה מגדף וזה מחרב. This one is insulting, this one is cursing me, וזה צודי נפשי לקחתה. And other people wanted just to kill me, unfortunately, because of the trouble. אבל לא נכנס בליבי שום מורא ופחד. I wasn't afraid, totally not afraid. Only, and why was I saved? זכות אבותיי הקדושים אין כוונתי עמדה לי. The merit of my fathers, the holy fathers which I have, in fact he says that in one of his letters, he says, I'm a descendant of the Ramban, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman. Nachman, it is well known because of his commentary on the Talmud, commentary on the Parasha, and so on and so forth. Those who study the Talmud are fully aware who is the Ramban. And so he said, I've never been afraid about my life, but I have to declare that the Messiah is false, and in fact he's misleading our people, unfortunately. Then, when he came to Amsterdam, he became a Rosh Yeshiva of Etz Chaim, which we have nowadays. I don't know if you have heard of it already. It's called the swine plague. Now the swine, whatever you call it, it flew, and there it was everyone panicked, and everyone had run away. 80,000 people died in London in those days, in England. So he ran away. Where does he go? In 1660, he goes to Hamburg. From there, he comes back again to London, to Amsterdam, and I would like to tell you, Rabbi Yitzchak Abuhab was the Chacham in those days here, and Rabbi Yitzchak Abuhab himself, who was a great Talmid Chacham, sided with Shabtai Tzvi. You know, rabbis also sometimes they make mistakes, as you know, so forgive them, right, if you forgive. And we have seen also Rabbi Akiva in the Talmud, sided with Bar Kokhba, thinking that Bar Kokhba was in fact the star, the Messiah, but here we are. And of course there was a little bit of friction between Rabbi Yaakov and Rabbi Yitzchak, age of 83. He was old, 83 years old, when he became the Chacham. So the so-called nowadays, we need young blood, we need fresh blood, all that is rubbish. In fact, Mizekenim et Bonan, from the elders, I usually get wisdom. So it's better always to have an old rabbi than a young rabbi. And unfortunately, at the age, so 5 years, he became the Chacham, and at the age of 88, unfortunately he died, and he died here, and obviously he became a very famous rabbi, not only because of his Torah, which we have already his book on Halakha, called Ohel Yaakov, well known, in Shelot Chubot, but nonetheless, he became famous because of his book, Tzitzat Novel Tzvi, the whole history of this false messianic era. Thank you, and God bless you. Now, we go to the prayer, and then,